Welcome home, Raiders. This week, a dev water cooler dropped that set the World of Warcraft on fire. We'll be talking new racials, the ability pruning, talents, all that, and a lot more. This is Convert to Raid number 133.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for Raiders in the World of Warcraft.
Command Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is March 2nd, 2014, and it is now 11:11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land. And hello, my name is Pat Crane. I'm your host of the show. I'm also called Zug around Airy PQS. And yeah, still raiding. Still doing it. That's right. And so are the players from Seattle. I'm not even gonna say what kind of Seattle it is right now. I'll let him explain what kind of Seattle it is right now. It's Dairies. What kind of Seattle? What kind of Seattle is it?
It's well, I can't think of anything that begins with S that's not vulgar, so we'll go with weird Seattle. It's 65 during the week and then snowing on the weekend, so I don't get it.
All right.
I don't get it.
That's lovely. That's lovely. I like it. How are you doing, buddy? Nice haircut.
I'm cold right now. Yeah, I got my ears lowered, as they say.
Yeah, like
ears
a
lowered.
lot.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, I got my hair cut. I have to go away next week for work, but got my hair cut. It took me yesterday. This is the wonderful world of Seattle. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to drive a mile and a half in downtown Seattle yesterday.
I'm guessing that our other guy knows what it's like in traffic as well. LA traffic. Let's go out to Hollywood to see Coltrane. Hello, sir.
Fortune cookies say,
Oh boy.
how many tickles does it take to make a Dreanor laugh?
Uh-oh. How many tickles does it take to make a Dreanor laugh?
10 tickles. Okay? Because they got tentacles, but it's 10 tickles. Tentacles. Yes, come on. It's brilliant. Don't give me the silent treatment. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That was sent in from Juicy Toenail. Woo! Yikes. From the Kill Rock server.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. That got huge laughs. I got like a billion bongos on that. Mega dance.
Actually, there is one that says, "Okay, that was tolerable."
Oh, stop. It's beloved by everyone.
Hey, Darius, just real quick, turn your mic down a little bit. You're pegging out a little bit.
You're coming in hot. You're
coming in hot.
Popping lock.
That's right. All right. So, how are you? How are you, Colt?
I'm great, man. I am doing really, really well. How are you guys?
Fantastic. This week was kind of a weird week. We had some big news drop on Thursday, and we're going to be talking about that pretty much the entire show. That's what the show is.
Yes.
But first, we should probably talk about what we've been doing in WoW. And Colt, why don't you start this week?
Well, first up, let's talk raiding. Let's talk raiding in a raid team known as Rectify. Yeah! Rectified. Woo! Yeah, man, that gets me pumped every time. I gotta tell you. So the team Rectified, right? We're clearing normals, no big deal. Time to step into heroics.
Right.
Here we go. So Immersius, third attempt, got him down.
Hey, nice work.
Yes. Very happy about that.
That's cool.
Heroic. Yeah.
That's cool. Did you get any good gear out of that?
No. I even my bonus roll was nothing but gold.
Yeah.
But Yuffie, she got some heroic Warforged boots, I think. She's a Holy Pally healer on the team, which was awesome. Now, what's interesting is we have 4 hours a week, just like Asparagus Initiative. So, well, I know you guys are now switching to 2, but we got 4 hours a week. So if we're going to do heroics, we've got a certain time limit because we still want to clear to get a chance at those BOAs from Garage.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, all right, we can allot this much time to attempts on heroics, and then we just got to do full clear.
Right.
So we got Heroic Immersius down, and then we got a couple of polls, because when you're first stepping into heroics, you spend 20 minutes kind of explaining it or just reviewing it. You do some ETT, some effective toilet time beforehand.
Right. Of course.
It's where you read the strats where you're on the toilet. ETT uptime is huge. You got to work on that. And then you step in.
ETT, yeah, you know me.
It's just like PvP.
That's right.
You got to play it.
Oh, well, all
You're
right.
down with PvP. You're down with PvP. You're down with PvP. Who's down with PvP?
Oh, man. Oh, it's the greatest.
We got to make something up for ETT, I think. I think this got to be a thing. This is the show part of the show, Darius.
The ETT sounder might be a little bit offensive. So
right.
when it came to Paragons, or no, Protectors, Heroic Protectors, we only got about 2 attempts in, but we made huge progress. So from attempt 1 to attempt 2, I know we would have gotten it in the next poll or maybe the next one after that. We were right there. So we decided to do full clear, and we got the rest of it completely cleared right at 10 a.m. We got everything done. So I think next week we might just focus on heroics. The team's great, a lot of talent, a lot of great people. And I think we might just be full on just doing heroics. We'll see. We're kind of all voting on it. This whole democratic thing. I say just heroics.
That was always the tough thing. I mean, that's always been the tough thing for us as well, because we've only had 4 hours to clear stuff. So it becomes, well, what do you do? And now with Warlords coming up and stuff like that, we've decided to make some changes, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I've
also got one more crazy story, but I want you guys to go. I got this insane story that involves Binky, but you guys, I want to hear about your week. And I got to tell you this crazy story.
Darius, outside of the team, what else has been going on with you?
The team's been taking up a lot of my time, but I've been playing my Pally. Let's see. I finished on Tuesday. I grinded out the last 1,000 Valor in the 3K Valor bit. So I did that on Tuesday, just with heroic scenarios, did a bunch of those.
Right.
And then, so finished that. And then that night, finished all of the other parts. So I'd already been exalted with Black Prince and everything. And then did PvP, randomly queued for the mines part of PvP, and won the first one I got into.
Awesome.
So got lucky
really
there.
Wow.
And then tried a couple times with the temple, the one where you hold all the balls, and we couldn't win that. So the next night, I got 10 people, and we created a war game, and all 10 of us, 5v5, went into the temple, and one side was just going to throw it so the other side could all get their PvP done. And we went in there, and they threw it, and we won. But I was worried because we came out of the gate, we all grabbed balls, and then everyone started killing me. And I'm like, no, you guys, you have to throw it. And I realized, no, they're just ganging up on me, and they're just killing me over and over again, and they're letting the rest of the team win.
Oh, boy. By the way, you're still hot. Your mic is still hot.
Your mic is still hot.
It's still really hot. Really hot. Really hot. Turn it way down.
Sure.
There we go.
Turn it way down.
I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. But
so finish the PvP.
Yeah.
Start on the secrets part, and I am now 10 of 20 secrets already.
Wow.
Into that. So I should be maybe next week or the week after done with secrets and onto runestones.
That's cool.
And I started the legendary quest just over three weeks ago. So
wow.
That's great. You're making progress. Good luck with secrets and runestones, though, baby. Holy cow.
Yeah. That'll be the slowdown right there.
All but 5 bosses in Tot and Siege, and I already have 10. So
wow. That's cool.
Woo.
That's cool.
Well, I still have 5 to do before Tuesday.
I want to talk to you about one other thing, and that is the official raid team of the Convert to Raid podcast. That's right. It's the Asparagus Initiative. I haven't done the sounder in a while, but last week we kind of dropped a bomb on people saying that we were going to be going Mythic in Warlords, and we're gearing up. And so we said it right at the tail end of the show, and I don't know how many people heard that, but that's the other part of the week, of your week anyway, that's been really busy, right?
Yeah, been really busy with that. So we got a lot of applications, way more than we could have filled the team with. So we had to go through and look at every single application, look at everything they wrote, take a look at all their gear and talk to people about, their attitude, were they going to be a good fit for the team, all that kind of stuff. So it took a while. For some reason, every mage and priest on the server applied. I'm not sure why.
Yes! Mages! Woo!
Right.
Assemble!
I think 60% of the apps were either a mage or a priest. So we have a lot of clothies.
Yeah.
We're kind of short on malwares right now.
Right.
I think we got one hunter.
Yeah. And one DK or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. So.
But no, that's been interesting going through all that stuff. And I think we've come up with a list of 25 people, including our 10,
right,
that we're going to take tonight to Siege to see how it goes.
Right.
It's still going to take a few weeks or maybe a month or more to figure out who's a good fit or not, because there's a certain mentality and attitude within the raid group, and if the fit's not there, it's just not there. So if you're still interested, apply. If you didn't get asked this week, don't worry about
despair.
It.
Right.
You might be in next week or the week after or something like that. There's still a bunch of people that were off server too that we wanted to talk to personally, because nobody knew them, no one had played with them. We didn't know much about them, but all we had was an email. So we're still trying to get a hold of some of those people as well.
So now when we go in tonight, because we raid on Sundays and now Mondays, yes. What are we going to be doing as far as content? Are we going to be doing normals, or are we going to jump into heroics? What are we?
I think the first couple hours is doing my favorite thing in WoW, which is called herding cats. So
right.
we'll probably spend a while just getting everybody in there, getting people on the correct tunes, because there are some people that managed to get themselves locked out this week already. So we'll swap some people around, probably get some people in. So that'll take a little while to figure out. But then I think we're going to try to do just normals this week to get everyone familiar with each other, instead of bashing our heads against heroics with some people that may have never done them, or a chemistry that's not working or something like that. So
and it's kind of one of the unique things, I guess, is when you're switching from 10 to 25, is that the mentality has to change, right? I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, as a healer, now I can kind of I can totally coast because I can rely on other people, right? That's what I can do. I can just sit back and relax.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's how it goes. Yep.
That's 40-man rating. That's 40.
Right. Then I just sit back and make water like you did.
Yes, that's right. Good old vanilla. Oh, I'm sorry, classic WoW. Classic. No longer calling it vanilla WoW. It's classic WoW.
We had
people
to.
Won't change.
The 10 of us decided we didn't want to put a lot of effort into rating anymore, so we're like, all right, we'll start a 25-man.
Right.
And we'll let them do it.
Right. Exactly. We'll make sure that the other people can pull our weight for us.
Exactly.
So that we can get loot.
Well, I wish you boys luck.
Yeah, it should be fun, and it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens, because I mean, it's not going 25 is weird for me. I've never really had a 25 team. I've always been 10-man. So it's very strange and kind of foreign to think about being in a larger group and all the stuff that I'm going to need. So we should try to make an effort to take some notes for the show so we can tell people what's going on in this transition phase, because I know that a lot of people are doing this for Warlords. They're thinking about going Mythic, and they're wondering how to build their team. Right. And so let's take some notes here, Darius, and figure it out.
I would normally stream the raid, but I will be on a plane, so I will likely be late and not be able to stream. But I think we'll normally stream our raid, so people can listen to that. We have had to make some changes. We've got Turpentine, our raid leader, but now we've got a melee lead and a healing lead and that kind of stuff. We're doing loot council for loot. But we're doing this transparent kind of loot council where everyone can see kind of what's going on, who's rolling on what, who's got what, things like that. So, we'll report back on how well that stuff's going or how poorly it's going.
There you go.
Either way, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, one quick thing before we get into raiding news, and that was some. It's always kind of weird when news outlets or editorial outlets or whatever become news. And so it's always kind of strange. But if you guys haven't heard, there's been a big shakeup with all of the AOL properties like Massively, Joystick, and that includes WoW Insider. And there were some drastic cuts being made over at WoW Insider and Massively, I know. And we have a lot of friends in the that have worked with those guys. So we had writers that had to leave WoW Insider, or at least cut back their columns quite a bit, or there might be some regular columns that get cut altogether. And for all those guys going through that transition, I know that it's tough, but these guys, they're all good eggs over at WoW Insider, and it was a sad week for them.
It was, man. WoW Insider was the first actual website that I went to get news and to read interesting information about WoW. This site's been around for years, and that was one of the first ones I ever went to. So hearing this news is always it's terrible to hear. It's so many great people. It's such an incredible resource that people have used for so long. So I only wish all the employees the best. I really do. And if you're out there and if you're looking for writers, if you're looking for columnists, these guys are the top of the pile here. These guys are great. So
they really are.
Give them a shot.
They really are. And I know that there's going to be a lot of class columns that I think are just going to go away. I'm not sure in the new regime. I guess we'll find out. But I know that Olivia Grace, she's still going to be writing for him, but not quite as much. And she's also picked up some other stuff already over at ZAM. So that's great for her. And I do like to see these people getting picked up by different places, but still being able to do what they love. So that's always good, always a good thing. All right, you boys ready?
If they're looking for a new home, they can come to Convert to Raid. The pay is terrible and the jokes are worse. We have fun.
Yeah. Hey, why not?
the pay is zero, and the jokes are even worse.
Yeah, they're horrible. Yeah. The jokes are so horrible. It's good. It's good stuff. All right, let's get into the raiding news.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is raiding news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening with raiding news around World of Warcraft. And this week, nothing. There's
nope. All right, good show.
There's nothing whatsoever.
Nope. Anything to talk about?
Nope. Oh, wait, hold on a sec. There was one thing, and it was kind of giant. It was the water cooler. There was a developer water cooler blog post, and lots of tweets from Celestalon and Brian Holinka. And it was filled with all sorts of stuff that we can expect for Warlords.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. This post was called "Pruning the Garden of War," and kind of like a large overview of what's to come for Warlords. Now this is I'm guessing this is what's going to be first. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot more, right, Colt?
Oh yeah, I mean they'd said that there's going to be there's 30 pages of info, and this is an info dump. This is like the intro, like the prologue to incoming info dump. You know what I mean? So this is not some people were like, wait a minute.
Wait, hold on a sec. By the way, info dump, I think those are two words that do not belong together. I am not mature enough to handle that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I am nowhere near mature enough for that kind of language. How dare you?
God. Oh,
anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Cole.
So the info evacuation started. Supposedly in the next week, or two, but who knows? Now, here's the thing. Here's my opinion. So a lot of people are saying, they're like, well, wait a minute. They've been talking about 30 pages of info, and then there's this dev water cooler, and why it's not enough information. It's not enough stuff. Here's what I like about this. We are forced to read it. Now, for example, meaning if you know how we are with patch notes, right? Patch notes come out. All we do is go to our class and look up what was changed. You don't read anything else. You look at your class or any other class that you're playing. You read that bit of info and then you rage. That's just what happens.
Right.
Just how it works. So there might be other information that may pertain, meaning if you see a nerf, if you see abilities being removed, there might be other classes this is affecting, but you don't read any of that. You just read for your class. what I like about this, and that this was released early, is we are forced to read it. We're forced to read it. So we now have an idea of what the general sense of things are going to go. So we can read this information. We can understand it. This will affect all the classes. So the next one or whatever it's going to be, when they do the info evacuation, we can go right to our class and we know it. We understand it. We get it. So that's actually what I think is smart and strategic about how they're handling the information evacuation.
I like this idea. I think if they follow this and they do one post per change, one for, all right, here's everything we're going to change for priests. Here's everything we're going to change for warlocks. I would probably read most of those articles just to see what's going on, because I know I can't skip to the priest part. I like this way much better than just here's 30 pages of notes. Good luck.
Right.
And it had pictures
and some sketches off of a napkin and all this kind of stuff. Let's just sketch it out. We'll sketch it out for you. And here we go. No, but it is actually kind of nice. It's a nice little primer for everybody as we move into the actual news part of this stuff, which is going to be how drastically they change things and what exactly has changed. And it gives people a way to prepare for the freak out that is inevitable and yet to come.
Yes.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one other thing we have to keep in mind, and this might sound crazy, what I'm about to say. Those that are listening, those that are watching, you are the type of person that is looking for any information that you can find. You are an individual that goes to sites like GameBreaker, that goes to other information sites like MMO Champion or WoW Insider or wherever you would go to get as much info as you can. But there are other people out there that don't. They just go to worldofwarcraft.com. That's it. That's where they get their information. They go to the forums there, and that's it. So they're not as informed. For us, we know about the stat changes and the number squish, or what's it called where the numbers are going to change?
The stat squish or the squish. It's the big squish.
The big squish. We all know about the squish, and we're prepared for it. Well, imagine there's this guy, Johnny WoW player, that doesn't know about it. And all of a sudden he logs in and, well, what the heck? I'm hitting for 10 damage,
Right.
He might not know. He might not be informed. But if they put this little intro thing on the World of Warcraft website, I'm sure they're going to get some more eyes on it. It's not just for us, but it's also for other players out there that don't listen to podcasts, that don't check out news sites, that only use worldofwarcraft.com as their main resource. So I think it's a good thing. It's a nice intro. We can read about it. We can learn about it. So when the change hits, it's not as crazy to everybody.
And to everybody who's not listening to podcasts or watching them on the YouTubes or at GameBreaker or whatever, why aren't you? Do it. We do the reading for you guys. We interpret it and stuff. It's cool.
Right. But they're not watching you say that to them. That's
I know.
The thing. That's what you're not understanding.
I know. That's why it's kind of weird. All right. So, by the way, Darius, that's a lovely cat that you have there on your desk. Well, it was on your desk. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into some specifics about this thing. And first up is the stat squish, the big squish that's coming to Warlords of Dreanor. And Darius, they gave us a couple of charts, right?
Yeah.
What were those charts all about?
Charts with only one data reference on each of them, which is just level. So they're just saying, here's what it would have been for player power and things like that if we hadn't done the squish.
Right.
And you can kind of see from 70 to 75, there's a slight increase. 80 to 85, there's a pretty big increase. But then from 85 to 90, 95 to 100, it just you're doing infinity damage.
Well, it's kind of funny because the graph, I mean, it shows everything as being like when we reach level 100, we are going to be at 100 plus mega damage and into infinity and beyond. And then they show what's going to be happening with the squish. And after the squish, we're going to be doing about 2 compared to the 100.
I mean, there's no data on here to tell what they're actually talking about for player power. But if it's to be believed, once you hit level 100, you'll have about the player power that you had at like level 76, 79, something like that.
That's
it's Burning Crusade numbers, really.
Yeah.
When you look at the number crunch squish thing.
Yeah, it's kind of BC Wrath era
It's
type
like
of stuff.
very
so.
very end of BC. Those kind of numbers is what you'd be doing.
Right.
But I will say those are numbers that matter. I mean, think about it now. When you're playing and you're doing damage, you're just seeing a ton of zeros flash up on the screen. You have no idea. Like, well, that looked like 1 million. All right, there's another million. I have no idea. That looks like 400,000. That's 800,000. They don't have any impact. As crazy as that sounds, when the numbers are so large, you kind of stop paying attention unless you see some huge crits. Now, I will say, I was looking forward to a 1 billion damage crit, but I guess that's not going to happen now. Thanks, Blizz.
Well, there's still time. There is still time before 6.0.
That's
But
right. I don't know if 1 billion's possible. Maybe some of these method guys were Blood Legion, but
right.
So it's by lowering the numbers become relevant. They have impact. You actually will pay attention now to the numbers versus now. I mean, we got to admit, man, it's just huge numbers after huge numbers after huge numbers, and it just becomes noise. You don't really pay attention. So.
Yep. Exactly.
Could be a good thing. I'm just saying, the lower numbers, you're going to start paying attention to them. It should be good.
Yeah. Now, some other stuff dropped, and the blog part of this it went into some detail, not a great amount of detail. This is more of an overview. It was to get you set up for the big freak out that is to come, like what I said before. But the problem is that right after this dropped, which was Thursday night, Celestalon and Holinka both were tweeting up a storm with tons of specifics, and they were just like, they were going mad with this stuff. And one of the things that was tweeted out, they were going mad. They were mad.
They were going mad.
One of the things that was tweeted out was about secondary stats for Warlords, and we have 5 that they're going to be doing. And Darius, what are those?
So we have crit, haste, mastery, readiness, and multi-strike.
Right. And they're shelving amp and cleave.
Yeah.
Because of the trinkets. They saw what the trinkets were doing in Siege of Orgrimmar. It was kind of like their test case. And then they said, we'll put that up on a shelf. We'll see what's going on with it. So what do you think is going on with amp and cleave, Darius?
I liked the amp trinkets in Siege. I like those. I like that they scaled with item upgrades, things like that. And
for those guys that don't know, what does the amp trinket do?
So it's a trinket like the DPS one, I believe, is from a Mercius. Yeah, it's from a Mercius, and it just says, when you do damaging attacks, you have a chance to amplify or increase your stats. So like your secondary stats, like haste, mastery, all those kind of things by a specific percentage, not a number, but a percentage. So I think the base one is like 7 or 8%. You have a chance to increase all of those by 7 or 8%, which I think is awesome. No,
right.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I misspoke. It's actually just, it flat increases those stats, but has a chance to give you intellect. Sorry. So the actual wording is it amplifies your crit strike, your critical strike damage and healing, haste, mastery, and spirit by a specific percentage. So again, I think the heroic one is like 9%. So just straight off the bat, your haste, mastery, spirit are all increased by 9%, which in the case of a shadow priest, like my priest, that's amazing because I'm going for a specific haste breakpoint. And that's 9% haste I don't have to get off of gear, so I can put it into other stats.
So do you think do you think that's
those.
too OP to put into a secondary type of setup or what?
If they're gonna have secondary stats mean so much, or so little in WoD, sorry, Warlords.
Jeez Louise. Thank you.
Then
he corrected himself, Coltrane.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Some people
no WoD in this dojo.
Right.
I'm sorry. I can't hold back.
All right. So go ahead. Continue your thought.
Then maybe it would be broken. I don't know how the stats are going to feel when it comes out. We don't have that indication yet. But if this is what Celestalon's saying, then they've got to have good data on it. Amp and cleave. The cleave trinket in Siege, all of the cleave trinkets were terrible. So I can see that going away anyway.
Right.
It's weird to have an amp trinket where it just gives you 10% of something instead of having to try to balance gear and whatnot. But if they've got this earnest on no haste breakpoints and stuff like that, then I can see it making sense.
So the new ones really are readiness and multi-strike, right? And so does readiness basically give you a shorter cooldown on spells, or is that what readiness is?
That's what I assumed. Either that or everyone's getting hunter talents.
Yeah.
Yeah, hunters. Awesome. Awesome. Everybody's a hunter. And multi-strike is
everyone's a hunter.
And multi-strike, that's pretty easy to grasp, right? So just hitting more things with whatever you're doing.
It's just cleave.
Right.
Basically.
A little bit. It's not hitting everything it's in your path. It's just hitting some things. All right. So there was also a bunch of information tweeted out about racial traits. New racials came out via Twitter again.
Oh, yeah.
The blog was like, oh, yes, things are going to be changing. And then Celestalon was like, Draenei, Dwarf, Gnome, here we go. This is everything that's happening right now. And it's like, oh, whoa, hey.
Via Twitter, you know.
Via Twitter.
And most of it was like direct replies to people.
Right.
It was like the worst way he could have released all this information.
It was good. It was nice. Now, the basic gist of it is that there are no more weapon specialties because there's no more hit, no more expertise, so you don't need those weapon specialties, right? There is also a lot of those racials that gave one specific thing like mana or energy or whatever. Now they're doing multiple resources. So that like the what was that?
I said finally.
Yeah. So like the gnome one, right? The expansive mind was tweaked, so it used to be plus 5% max mana. Now it's max mana, energy, rage, or runic power. So it's all of those different things.
Right.
No longer
Which is
just
great.
mana. So now casters don't have to play a gnome. They might want to still.
Well, the big thing too is casters don't have to play Horde. That's a big thing now.
Right.
I mean, the Alliance are getting some love here, baby. I mean, these new racials are phenomenal. Like, because as we know, the way it is kind of now is there are more performance enhancing racial traits with the Horde side. You know what I mean? So now,
are you saying that it's like the little blue pill of rating? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the Alliance is blue. So, but now the Alliance is getting some love here. They're getting a lot of great things that are really going to help them out, and I think kind of put things on par. When you look at, the top parses, these top guilds on World of Logs, on Warcraft logs, the majority of them are all Horde. It's very rare that you're going to find a high-end raid team that is Alliance. Midwinter is an exception to that rule compared to the majority. They're mainly Horde. So now Alliance is getting some really great things that are going to be happening to them. And like we said, getting rid of now it's interesting too, like the human one. They're getting rid of the sword and all that stuff because all that stuff's changing. But what's interesting about humans is the human spirit. That's the old racial. Now becomes times X to 2 secondary stats of your choice.
Right.
That's crazy. It is.
It's very interesting.
Right.
That little change.
Mm-hmm.
And
so basically the way that is like it could be 2 secondary stats. So it could be you could buff you can choose crit and haste. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting when you look at it. You're like, oh my gosh, that sounds really OP. And what the heck? This is crazy, Blizz. But then when you actually look at it, you're getting half of both.
Right.
You're not getting
you can't double up. In other words,
you can't double up. You're not getting a straight up 1% boost to haste. You're getting 0.5 to haste and 0.5 to crit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of interesting.
And another very interesting one for the Alliance was for the Night Elves, which is Touch of a Loon.
This one's really weird.
This one is very strange. It's called Touch of a Loon, and it's a new passive which grants 1% haste at night and 1% crit during the day.
What?
I know.
What? Yeah, what?
I know, it's weird, right? But I mean, when I think of it, I'm like I think of the Druid. Obviously, it's a very Druidish talent. But it's still strange though, because I mean, most people play their respective character at the same time, don't they? So,
yeah, it's weird.
So you wouldn't expect this to be a thing, really. It's just, okay, so I'm either going to get 1% haste or I'm going to get 1% crit. Great.
And also,
is it day and night for like the server time, or is it day night in game? And what do you do about dungeons and raids and stuff like that, where there is no day-night cycle?
I don't even know.
That's why this thing is so weird.
I don't even know.
It's weird. It's like, well, it's a 5:45. I'm about to switch to haste here, boys. So
yeah,
I got to go to my haste build now.
That's right. If we could wait 15 minutes, I got haste coming up in about 10 here.
Right.
So that'll be great.
Respec halfway through a raid to just make up for the loss of haste.
It's a weird thing, right? I mean, it's just very, very strange. And I'm like going, how is that going to work? And my guess is that we're going to see how this shakes out in beta. And it may change again. But it's interesting.
It's very druidish, which I appreciate. It's very druidish.
Yeah, I like the feel of it.
Right.
I just don't know how it's going to be in practice. But I guess, that's what the beta is for. And by the way, Blizz, anytime you want to, just drop that beta right on me.
Boom.
Just do it.
Yeah. Let's do this.
That's right. That's right. Some other things that happened. One of the things was for orcs. Blood Fury, still a thing. It's a major cooldown for orcs, and it's still a thing, and it's unchanged right now.
No, yeah, you're right. Blood Fury is unchanged. You're right. It's the hardiness I was looking at. 10% stun reduction is down from 15, so that got reduced slightly. And
Troll's Berserking was reduced to 15% haste, down from 20. So that was nerfed a little bit. So that's good.
Yeah, because that was like a mini Bloodlust in a way.
Yeah,
sick of seeing all these trolls out there.
Well, I mean, when I was on the Horde side, I played Troll. Because that's what you do. I only had Troll and Orc. I think I had like a couple of goblins, but that was it. Not many.
Yeah.
So, especially for those DPS increases, those power boosts, man. I'm telling you.
I know.
I'm telling you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Stepping on each other's toes. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. But was there anything else from this, from the racial stuff that you guys saw that you want to bring up on the show? I mean,
I think that I'm going to step on you.
Go ahead, do it.
Because I think there's so much info here. There's so much, and it's exciting. The Draenei heroic presence is now plus X to your primary stat.
Right.
That's going to be great. That's huge.
That's cool. And there was just a bunch of stuff here, and I would think that for all of this information, go to a site like Wowhead. Wowhead was really on top of everything.
Absolutely.
The night that this stuff dropped, and they have really put together a great piece, a lot of information on the same page for you, because it's better to read stuff like this. It gets a little bit too, you can get lost in the minutia a little bit when you're just talking about it, but when you see it on the page, you'll go, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. All right, cool. But what do you guys think about these racials overall? Darius?
I think it's good. Balance in the racials is good because, man, they've been way awful for a long time. The balance has been off. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Horde has the good racials, things like that. If you're a caster and haste is one of your big stats, you've got to go Troll for that. That mini berserking, mini bloodlust kind of thing there. So kind of balancing these things out is good. The night elf thing I think is a little weird, but if they're gonna get adventurous and try new things, maybe that's a good place to start. I would be okay with racials not having to matter so much or be kind of gimmicky like that instead of everybody getting a berserking. That'd be okay with me.
Right. Colt, any final thoughts on racials before we move on?
Just happy they're a lot more balanced. Just happy to see some love for the Alliance.
And that's basically what a lot of this stuff is, right? I mean, it's basically just cleaning up a bunch of garbage that's kind of accumulated over the last 10 years, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just that this is what happens after 10 years of this game. There's just been so much stuff added to the game that now we got to kind of prune it down and make it so that it's playable, livable, looks good, feels good, all that kind of stuff, right? So I mean, this is the change that is about to come for Warlords. So
Absolutely. And not just with racials, but with ability.
that is right. Oh, nice segue. Nice
Thank
segue,
you.
buddy.
Thanks for pointing it out and ruining it.
Wow.
Oh, yes. That's my job. Anyway, we do have a bunch of stuff for ability pruning, and there was actually quite a bit on that. And I think that Celestalon actually tweeted out at one point or another that we roughly 20% of our abilities are gonna be going away.
Good.
20%. That's a big number. But again, this is all part of the cleanup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm trying to think about different things to pull out of this.
I got a question there, though.
Yeah.
How do you take 20% out of a 2-button rotation? So, I mean, what are they going to do for mages?
Oh my gosh. So anyway, oh, don't listen, mages. I know you're angry. I'm angry. I get it. I'm no longer. It's just a dull headache at this point. It's not really anger anymore. It's a dull ache.
Says the monk. Says
Right.
It's no longer mage.
Hey, I still bleed blue, baby. I do. I will
boy.
always bleed blue for my mage brothers. But,
Right.
one of the things that they're taking out with warriors, recklessness and skull banner. The majority of DPS warriors, they just macro those two abilities together. So they're like, well, if they're just being macroed together anyway, let's just remove skull banner.
Right.
So I think stuff like that makes sense. Like, well, either because there are buttons on our classes that we just never use. You know what I mean? That just sit there, and occasionally, once in a while, we do. So let's get rid of those abilities. Let's stop staring at our toolbars as much and focus more on our characters and just kind of simplify things a little bit. Not simplify, but clean it up. I think the way you said it is right.
Yeah.
Clean it up.
And what they said in the post was, for Warlords of Dreanor, we decided that we needed to pare down the numbers of abilities available to each class and spec in order to remove some that are unnecessary complexity. So they just want to remove some of the confusion, some of the unnecessary button mashing that needs to happen, right? And so they say in the article, that means restricting some abilities to certain specs that really need them instead of being class-wide, and outright removing some other abilities. But they say that doesn't mean that we want to reduce the depth of gameplay or dumb things down, which makes sense, right? I mean, Darius, do you think that removing this stuff is going to dumb things down, or is it going to be more interesting, I guess?
No, I think it's good. So I bet they see this a lot, where you've got a new player, so you have a new warrior that comes up, and they're doing LFR, and they know they have Skull Banner. They know they have those banners, but they don't know when they should be using them. Do I use them when we Bloodlust? Do I use them later on when a mini Bloodlust would help everybody? And then they end up not using them at all. So if they take that guessing out of it, that pressure, that's good for new players, and then high end players, all they're doing is macroing that to their opener, or to their flask when they Bloodlust. There's what's the point at that point? If you're just macroing all this stuff together, then it just becomes another button you have to push instead of a button that's interesting to push.
Right. And I think it was Olivia was talking about how she just has like one button that has macroed everything. And it's just like, okay, I just hit this one button over and over again. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. So one of the other
those things,
go ahead.
They're not interesting, and Blizzard is on this. Let's get everything that's not interesting out of the game kick, and I'm all for that. That's there's no. There's this Stormlash, Skull Banner, things like that. Those are just buttons you push. They're
And that's kind of one of the big points of this article. I think that offensive cooldowns, for the most part, are going to be going bye-bye.
Woohoo!
See you later.
Yeah!
See you later.
And there was much rejoicing. So I would like
hold
to
on
say,
a second. Let's do the big applause then.
yes.
So you think that there was way too many cooldowns, right, Colt?
Well, I think that the monks, the Windwalkers out there at this moment are celebrating. Those applause you heard were the sounds of Windwalker monks. Because one of the reason that we got benched was we didn't have, now this is in hardcore heroic level rating, we didn't have an offensive cooldown. We didn't bring a lot of utility. So this is great. If you've got a choice, as it is now, between a Windwalker monk or a rogue, you take the rogue. If they're comparable in DPS, you take the rogue because they offer more in the ways of utility or offensive cooldowns. The same goes with other classes. Windwalker monks didn't have that. So if they're getting rid of them, Windwalker monks are ecstatic. This is great. Now it's just about skill and play. And if all we have to worry about is bloodlust and heroism, then it's about straight up DPS, baby.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be. That's great.
And that's the only thing that's really going to be sticking around. So we bloodlust, heroism, time warp, ancient hysteria, that group of bloodlust, I guess. That's what I always call it anyway. But that's going to be the only real raid-wide throughput cooldown. Everything else is, like tricks of the trade. It's no longer going to increase damage.
Woo!
So we know that. So Darius, from a raid team standpoint, what do you think about losing this burst damage? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to balance encounters for that kind of thing. You're not gonna feel like, they took it out and you miss it and you need it and you can't play without it kind of thing. Blizzard will do a good job there of balancing all that stuff out. From a raid leader perspective, though, it means that I don't have to worry about not bringing the monk. I can bring the monk, I can bring whatever, because we're not going to be missing the tricks or the skull banner or the stormlash or whatever. I'm just bringing the player that does the best damage across the board, or is the smartest player, or tells the funniest jokes. So,
and that is important. Jokes are always important for every raid team. That's
good for morale, baby.
That's for true. And it was kind of weird because there was a forum post, as you might expect. People were freaking out on the forums again as soon as this dropped, and Bashak actually kind of responded to the ability bloat, I guess, issue, and he said this, and I think it's good to hear this. He said, and I want to do this in my best Pandaren voice, I really do, but I'm not going to for this show. I'm not going to set it up.
You should do it.
maybe I'll do like a pre-recorded thing. I'm usually better at that stuff. But he says, a wise man once said, a game is a series of interesting choices. For some, the takeaway from that is more choices mean a better game. In general, I see the Blizzard approach as a focus on emphasizing what an interesting choice is. Interesting choices can offer depth and complexity without needing to be numerous and overwhelming for the sake of being overwhelming. I think that was written really well. I think Bashiak, that's like post of the week right there.
Yeah.
So that was, I think that was really good.
Bashiak Unchained is what happened.
Bashiak Unchained.
Yes.
Clearly. But I think that's something that we all need to remember. And I do believe that, pruning some abilities is a good thing overall. It gives all of us a fresh start on how to approach end game content and content just in general. It's kind of exciting.
It's very exciting.
It's kind of exciting.
More is not better.
More is just
better.
more.
Yeah, more is just more.
Right, and I think a lot of people actually have been very positive about this. And we hope that that's the case with you guys. Of course, if you want to jump in on the conversation and let us know what's going on with you, you can always email us or talk to us on the Twitter or whatever. So talents. Let's talk talents just briefly because we only have a little bit of information on talents. Celestalon posted up some stuff about mages.
Yeah, baby.
And about how we can expect talents to break out a little bit more. So he said that there were a bunch of shared talents. There were 4 spec-specific talents. And so for mages, it's a grand total of 29 talents. That grand total over the entire class of 29. But it's kind of cool. They're sharing some talents. They're putting some spec-specific ones. And they're combining that. They're cleaning up the talent thing, right, Colt?
Yeah, it's like right now on the mage tree, you've got an entire talent row of the different bombs. You've got Frost Bomb, Nether Tempest, and Living Bomb. And they're available to everyone. What they're going to do now is rather than have 3 bombs, they're going to have 1 bomb. And then depending on your spec, that bomb will change. Meaning, you've got 1 talent, bomb, right? I don't know what the name of it is going to be. But if you're a fire mage, it is a living bomb. If you're an arcane mage, it is Nether Tempest. And if you're a frost mage, it is Frost Bomb. What's great about this is that frees up for 2 more talents.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's going to change based on your spec. Certain talents will change based on your spec. And that leaves another 2 slots open for something that's cool and interesting that we can hopefully have for our class. So, so I dig that. I think that's a smart use of resources, of land. You know what I mean? I got a spot for 3. Let's make one of them be called bomb, and the other 2 can be whatever we want.
Well, and especially for classes like druids. I mean, come on. How many talents do druids have that make absolutely 0 sense for whatever spec you're playing in? Like when I play Resto, I only have really 1 set of choices that I need to make, and that's it. And other than that, I am stuck with these choices because there are 4 specs and there's only 3 talent choices. So what do you do there? And I'm sure that's the way it is with a lot of hybrids. Obviously the pure DPS classes have a little bit more, I think, choice, maybe, depending on what they're doing. But I don't know.
This is something we've seen for a long time. If you play priest, a lot of the priest talents are like this, where the kind of the one thing that will do. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now for some reason, but there'll be one priest talent that completely changes whether you're holy, disc, or shadow, and it's 1 talent, but it does 3 different things, and then the other 2 are more just priest specific. And this is I've always liked that. I thought that was a good thing, and it's cool to see this going to all the other classes. I'm not happy mages are getting it, but everyone else will get it. So
of course, you're not happy that mages are getting it. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Send all bad guano to Grand Paw on Area P.
That is correct.
I'm running low. I need more.
That's right. Okay, let's talk crowd control real quick, because crowd control is going to be changing as well. They are going to be removing many CC spells entirely, like all disarms are going away. Not disarm or disarm, but disarms in general. If you know what I mean.
Boo.
People say that I can't like bad jokes because I don't like any fortune cookies. I'm like, I just don't like cookies, man.
What are you talking about?
I love
baby?
bad jokes.
Oh, jeez.
Zug is full of bad jokes.
I totally am.
Jokes.
I totally
that he can't stand.
But so they're getting rid of disarms. They're getting rid of. They separated out silences from other things like stuns and interrupts and stuff like that. And they've kind of simplified a lot of the categories for diminishing returns, which is probably a good thing in general. And they did something with cyclones where now you can dispel them, which is good. But they've also increased restrictions and CDs on other types of crowd control. Right. And a lot of pet CCs are getting nerfed or taken away as well. So,
right.
I mean, go ahead, Colt. What?
Well, it basically what I'm excited about now. Listen, I'm not a PvPer. I'm a PvE guy. So there are a lot of PvPers out there that I'm sure love CC. They love the control of it. They love being able to lock somebody down, and I'm sure they're probably raging at this point. So I can't speak to that. I can speak to this. I stepped into some PvP, and I got in there, and I got my little, my honor gear, and I would get in and boom, stunned for 6 seconds. Then I'd get out, here we go, stunned again. And then I get out, oh, now I'm rooted. And now, and then I'm dead. Right. And it's like that to me was not fun. I want to engage and play my character. I don't want to just be standing there, just CC'd the entire time. But that changes for everybody. So I personally, for me, I'm really interested in getting into more PvP now because I'll actually get to play my character. He's not going to be locked out of all of my abilities or is just stunned for the entire duration of the match. So
Right. And they also did something with trinkets as well, that where if you are in something like what's the monk one? With the punching one, the
Fist of Fury?
Yeah, Fist of Fury. If you're in Fist of Fury now, for Warlords anyway, the trinket will get you out of the Fist of Fury. Fist of Fury is a series of stuns, essentially. And so if you trinket once in a Fist of Fury, right now, you get out of that one instance and then you get locked right back up because Fist of Fury is a series of stuns. But in Warlords, it'll get you out of the entire cast of that Fist of Fury. So that's kind of another new change that's going to be happening with trinkets. Darius, what do you think about all these CC changes?
I think this is awesome. I mean, this is the biggest pain point, I think, for PvP. Especially for a new player that's not used to PvP or might not know what's going on or what to do. Like Colt said, you get in there and the first thing that happens is you're stunned, and then you're stunned again, and then you're stunned again. And there's some classes that just have 3, 4, 5 different CCs, and none of them share a diminishing return. And by the time they're on their third one, you're dead, you're done. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Druids, their Cyclone was one of the worst because there was no way to get out of it. You couldn't dispel it. You couldn't do anything. If your trinkets were all done, you're stuck in that thing, and you can't do a thing. Nobody can help you. The best you got was diminishing returns. So these changes are awesome. I think for PvP, it's so frustrating to go in it and not be able to do a thing. You're completely helpless, and that's not fun for anybody. So
right. Well, and here's a question to you guys, and that is, how do you think that all of these changes, now that we've kind of gone through what we can expect, kind of in broad strokes, what do you think you guys can expect as far as gameplay goes? Does this open up more interesting choices? Is this going to be a lot? Do you expect that this will be not necessarily easier, but more fun? What do you guys hope that all of these changes bring about? And Colt, let's start with you.
I think, like you said, I think more fun. I think more interest, more interesting things to do. I think the rotations, a lot of the abilities are going to be cleaned up. I think PvP, for now, for me, looking at this is now something that I want to try. This is something that I now want to get into. Like Darius said, nobody wants to be stunned the whole time, especially if it's your first time out there.
Right.
And that may be great for hardcore PvPers, but for a newbie that wants to get in and try it out, I don't want to go back. Well,
Right.
What's the point of this PvP? I'm just getting stunned the whole time. You know what I mean? I don't want to go back. You know what I mean? So I like it. There's going to be a little bit more skill-based, and you'll be able to get in there and dig it out a little bit more. So,
Gotcha. And Darius, how about you? I mean, with all these different changes that they've kind of introduced in this blog post, what do you think that we as raiders can expect from gameplay coming into Warlords with? I mean, this includes everything: racials, different CDs, different the ability pruning, all that kind of stuff. What can we expect as raiders moving into Warlords, do you think? Or what are you hoping for?
Just more interesting abilities. I think it's no longer going to be just go in there and kind of hit whatever buttons you want. You're going to have to think about what you're hitting, because there'll be less of them, but they're going to be more impactful, when you actually click on them, as far as things like CC that never really had an impact on raiding, because enemies don't really trinket out of things or things like that. But
right.
Man, that would be an interesting boss.
Where they trinket out of everything. They're just like, trinket. Oh, what? What? What happened?
Just the first 2 minutes of the fight, everything you do, they just dispel themselves, they trinket, they CC you. It'd be like PvPing, Garrosh.
That'd be weird.
Something.
That'd be weird.
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this is going to make for everything's just going to be more interesting. The button, there will be less buttons, but there will be more interesting buttons. You're going to actually feel an impact when you do click the buttons you do click. Not just, I'm clicking this one again, I'm clicking this one. I don't even know what this one does. I just click it, whatever.
Right. Colt, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, as far as raiders go, I think this is more bring the player, not the class. I think this is going to be more in line with that statement. By getting rid of these offensive cooldowns, It will be more in line with, well, I don't have to have a warrior. I don't have to have a rogue.
Well, but
I can bring the player, not the class.
Well, if you're playing, if you're doing the mythic thing, though, we still have yet to.
Yes,
I want to believe that's true, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, my point is basically that Windwalker monks were being benched because they didn't have these offensive or this utility. So in theory, now they can play. They can be in this heroic environment. You're correct. In Mythic, they want us to have a variety of classes. You know what I mean? They want us to have, you need to pretty much have a class of everything. But that's a good thing. Yeah. I don't like when I hear that certain classes are getting benched because they don't have raid utility or a particular thing. So that's what I mean more along the lines of bring the player, not the class. That was more in reference to them pruning and getting rid of a lot of these offensive cooldowns and more utility.
And that's
stuff.
so you can bring balance to the game, right? So, I mean, you really want to bring this balance. You really want to make sure that everybody can play together on whatever type of tune that they want to play on. And as long as you have that balance of all these different classes, you should be sitting in a fairly decent spot. And I think that this might help with some of that disparity that we've seen. And also, they were talking about, I know that they've been tweeting a lot about instant casts, and I think we talked about this last week a little bit, about how there are going to be fewer instant casts from ranged folk, and that, that might also help balance melee and ranged a little bit more. So we're seeing all these balance shifts, and I think that it's actually looking pretty good for everybody out there. I mean, warlocks and mages, you might not like it so much because you may feel like it's a bit of a nerf, but it's really not, right? I mean, we're just talking about making sure that everybody is falling in line with each other, and all these different classes kind of all together are sitting in a decent range so that we can make sure that we can all just have fun together, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. They say balancing is not a science, it's an art. You know what I mean? You're going to have some grays. It's not black and white.
That's
You're going to have varying colors in your quest to get balance. So.
Yeah. And I think that we're seeing kind of the artistes starting to really do their thing right now. It's pretty cool.
That's right.
It's pretty cool. Right. I like it. All right, let's move into some leading the raid.
Leading the raid.
Every time we can, we look into leadership issues for raid leaders everywhere. This week, we take a look at a listener question and Coltrane. Wondering if you might be able to help us out with this one.
Sure. This is from Car Shalaman on Gorefiend US. Hey guys, love the show. Keep up the good work. With 6.0 rating changes around the corner, I've been looking to recruit players to add to our 10-man heroic team as much as possible to increase it to 20 people for Mythic rating. Up to 15 people now, but I've hit a wall. Outside of spamming our own server with recruitment posts, I've been looking to third-party places to find raiders, but it seems as if all the old guild recruitment websites are dead and outdated. The in-game guild recruitment systems, WoW forums don't really work, and sites like WoW Progress seem to be useful for raiders to find raid teams and not the other way around. Let me reread that. The in-game guild recruitment systems, WoW forums don't work, and sites like WoW Progress seem to be useful for raiders to find raid teams and not the other way around. I know I have some time, but I would like to get to raid with some of the new people prior to Warlords so that we are ready to go.
Right. Okay. So this is a question about a team recruiting for Warlords. They want to get their 20 folks. Actually, probably now they might want to go 25 because, I mean, you might as well get the full team, get the full benefit now and start raiding with these guys instead of just doing flex or whatever. Especially if you're thinking about going Mythic. You want to be doing heroic content right now. So let's try to make this a little bit broader and let's just talk about all the different recruiting tools that teams have out there for them a little bit more. Darius, what kind of recruiting tools do teams have out there that they can use?
I mean, so as he's mentioned, there's spamming on your server. There's the WoW forums. There's WoW Progress, things like that. There's also you can directly approach people if you see someone if you run a dungeon or an LFR or a flex or something, and you enjoyed running with the person, or you felt you clicked well with them, or you pugged someone in. You can ask them. There's some other sites out there that some people don't seem to mention often or talk about. There's a site called wowlemmings.com, and they're kind of an aggregate site. They take a look at the WoW forums and a few other sites, and they put it all together. And you can reach out to people. I know in the past guilds I'm in have always had success with WoW Progress. You can go and look and see who's looking for guilds, and you can filter by spec and class and progression. Well, I don't think you can do progression anymore, and all those things on WoW Progress, and you can directly contact them. Most people have their real ID or email address or something on there for you to reach out to them. But aside from all those, I'm not sure.
So
any others?
Wow Lemmings?
WowLemmings.com. Yeah.
That's one that I haven't heard before. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's like I said, it's an aggregate of everything. And you can pick by, region, faction, server, all that kind of stuff, and
cool.
and they'll link you to it, to their post or their whatever.
Right. Colt, do you have any more ideas? I've got maybe one or two in my pocket.
Please go right ahead, man. Okay. Go right ahead.
One of the things that I think is kind of cool is that you can go to like a place like OpenRaid or OQ, right? And you can kind of find some of those raiders that way as well. And especially if you put into the event post that you're looking for more for Warlords, you might be able to attract some people. And you might be able to get them in on a cross server right now, see what they're all about, see how well they play, or whatever, and be able to kind of do it that way. And it's a little bit roundabout because you would have to do a flex most likely, but it is kind of another way to get word out that you're looking for more. And oh god, I had one other thing and I can't remember what it was. This is just to add to what you already said, Darius. But if you're doing server spam, one of the things you may consider doing is you may consider just making sure that you are doing the server spam at the time that you're actually raiding, right?
Yes.
Because you're going to be hitting the most amount of people that might be interested at the times that you're actually going to be raiding. So you say, hey, we're looking for more for tomorrow night at this time, whatever it is, and, see if you can get people that way. Because as we said before, people habitually play this game at around the same time, pretty much. You can expect that. So some people might be available, on other nights of the week to come in and run with you. So make sure to do that specifically at those times that you're going to be raiding. Make sure that that's when your server spam is actually happening. So I think that's it. WoW Lemmings, though, that's pretty cool.
You have to check that out. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you were talking about how WoW Progress, you can actually search through if you're on a raid team and kind of select people. Right?
You can search through people looking for there's a whole section on there where you can search through people, because you can post on WoW Progress like, I'm looking for a new team. That's one of the check boxes in your character. Mm-hmm. And you can search through characters for people that are looking for teams, and find everyone in there. And there's thousands of people listed in there. You can search by how many raids per week they want to do, so because you can specify all that in your profile. So you can find people that only want to do 2 nights a week that speak Swedish, and it'll give you a list of all the priests. So
that's kind of cool. That's really cool.
Yep.
All right. So check that one out. WowLemmings.com. There we go. We do have some more questions to get through, so let's do it.
We've got mail.
We do. And if you have a question about anything for us, about rating or anything else, just let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show. You can email us at converttoraid@gmail.com or call our raid line, 612-787-RAID, or you can join us during the live show. Try to flag us down in chat, and we'll see if we can get to it. I know that we've got a bunch of questions today as well, and the first one comes from the raid line.
So I've got a strange question for you guys. In my entire World of Warcraft career, I've gone from complete noob to joining a guild and making friends and becoming a raider, to quitting the game, to coming back to the game, becoming a hardcore raider again, to leaving the game, and now I'm back to the game again. I've actually joined CTR, and at this point, I've just become such a hermit of leveling characters and just doing stuff by myself in an MMO. I think I've forgotten how to make friends in World of Warcraft. So my question to you guys is, how do I make friends in World of Warcraft? I mean, I'm even in CTR, a huge guild, but I don't know how to make friends. I'm friendly towards people, but I haven't made any friends yet in the weeks that I've been in the guild to, actually do stuff with them. Just like, I need an enchanter. I got an enchanter. I'll do that for you. That kind of thing. Thanks for the show. Keep up the good work, guys. Oh, by the way, this is Core Gaming, if you remember me from my Game Breaker questions.
Yeah, Core Gaming. I know you. Well, thanks for the question, man. I really appreciate it. So it is kind of a strange question, but it's not really that strange, is it? I mean, people are always kind of looking for community, looking for friends, looking for groups. And Colt, maybe you kick this one off. What do you think about how to make friends in WoW? What do you think might work?
I'm a big fan of the mumble. The mumble. Basically, what I've noticed is like I tend to get on very late at night. Very late. So there's a group of us that tend to be on at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like 6 or 7 of us that are always on at the same time. And when you all get into mumble together or Ventrilo or anything like a voice chat, you tend to talk. It's like the same group. It's like, oh, hey, how was your day? How was your day? You know what I mean? And you kind of make friendships that way. So I think like a mumble or a voice chat is a great way. But also too, like you'll in guild chat, you just say, hey everyone, how's it going? And you'll notice in your times when you play, there are other people that play at that same time.
Right.
But I don't know. For me, mumble is a great way. You encourage yourself to get in those chat channels and speak, talk, say, hey, how was your day today? How are things going? Hey, anybody help me out with this or that or that kind of thing. So
right.
That's a great way to do it.
Darius, how about you?
I find yelling at people and intimidating them to be your friend, that works best.
Definitely.
That's
right.
That's how I made most of my friends in game.
Right.
No, I think Colt's right. Just creating that or jumping into that community of mumble or something like that. Obviously finding a regular raid team is a huge help because you're forced to, kind of talk to those people for 4, 8 hours, 12 hours, however many hours a week. That's a good way. Continue being friendly if you already are friendly. He says he is friendly. He is friendly, but it's how do you jump from that? And I think the biggest thing really is with everything in gaming is that it takes some bravery on your part to jump into social situations and make something social happen. Yes.
Just like what Colt was saying. I mean, jump in and say, hey everybody. That's what it takes. It takes somebody to get the courage.
You don't feel comfortable just jumping in and like kind of joining someone else's conversation and mumble. Find a flex some night that you're on and join that, and they'll likely be in mumble, and then you're kind of, it's a forced introduction. You're going to have to talk to everyone else in that group, all 24 other people, just to call out basic raid things, but talk about other things as well.
Right?
How about that local sports team or something like that? So.
Well, I mean, you might want to be a little bit more specific than just that local sports team,
fine.
Generic sports team.
You don't want to exclude anybody, so
right.
Just start with that.
Right, but that is another way to do it, is to jump into activities and actually do activities like Flex. Flex is really great for that, and especially in a guild like CTR, we're running Flex all the time. I mean, you just gotta keep your eye out for opportunities like that where you can join in on those social gatherings. And we have an events team, and the events team is doing stuff as well, trying to get people introduced to each other and trying to make sure that we're all getting along together as a community. So
yeah, if you see any of the event planners running events, like, it is their job to talk to you and be friendly, so
right,
you can't really go wrong there.
It's a good place to start. Yeah. All right, let's move it along to the next one. And Darius, can you actually get this one from Mr. J Time?
This is from Mr. J Time.
Yeah.
I like this introduction. It says, hey, Pat, Darius, and the other guy.
Woo! Yeah!
Wait, hold on a second. I want to play this.
Monk Genius.
I don't know why. All right. Go ahead, Darius.
He says, I recently dropped $55 to faction change to Alliance, transferred to Airy Peak, and joined the CTR Guild. It certainly seems to be a friendly group of people. I'm excited to play through Warlords as part of the CTR community.
Awesome.
Anyway, to my question. My priest has been Shadow since vanilla, but I'm making the switch to disc. So far, I love it. I carefully read through all of my new spells, wrote all of my mouse over macros, and then healed the crap out of a target dummy. I even spent a whole night in Proving Grounds practicing the healing rotation. I'm doing fine, but there's one area I need help with. A Disc Priest relies heavily on shielding players against damage before it happens. I'm having trouble knowing just when to pre-shield the raid. How do I learn to be more efficient and effective with my shields? I prefer not to use add-ons, but I will if I have to.
All right,
Thanks.
so here's what I've learned as a leveling Disc Priest. Shields are good. Okay, now to the real expert. It's actually Darius. You've played Disc before?
Once or twice.
For maybe, some world-class teams.
Yeah.
Here and there. He's dabbled.
Yeah, he dabbled.
It's here and there.
Yeah.
Your best friend here, your best tool is not even going to be an add-on or really anything in game. It's going to know fights better than almost anyone else in the raid group. Know when damage is coming before it comes. Not people are going to take damage when I can't think of anything specific. Let's say Mercius, the first boss in Siege of Orgrimmar. When the small adds, when he goes underwater, when the small adds hit the boss, there's raid-wide damage. If you know that damage is coming before it comes, and you see someone that's at half health or 75% health or even lower, that's the person you want to shield. But you've known that damage is coming before it comes, so you're already looking for those things. Once you get into a regular raid group, start knowing who stands in stuff the most. It's usually a mage or a rogue. So watch those guys. They tend to stand in things more than everyone else.
Right.
So just know which of your raiders might just be a little bit slower to react to things, and then pre-shield them and that kind of stuff. But it's not an add-on that's going to help you. It's knowledge. It's doing your homework and paying attention. You're not going to get it the first time you run a raid and the first time you run with a group. That's
right. Knowledge is power. Is that what you're saying?
And if you run out of targets to shield, you can never go wrong with a tank. Tanks are always going to take damage. Yeah. So
that is the biggest thing is you need to shield somebody. How about the tank? Hello. Right. So that's it. All right. Anything else? No, I think that's it on that question. So let's move it on along to the last question of the day. And this is from Mike, and I'll take this one. It says, "Hi, Zug, Darius, and Coltrane. I recently started raiding again, casually on my mage in 5.4, after a long time of just playing casually up through Cataclysm and the start of Mists. In 5.3, I faction changed and switched servers to join one of the mega guilds as an upcoming casual player with the dreams of one day reaching the glory days of raiding that I had once before in the game as a resto druid back in vanilla." He's hitting all the right classes anyway. He hit mage and he's hit resto druid, and that's good. That's only good things for this show. But he says, "How should a raid application be approached if you feel that your item level may come into play at any point? I know that eye level isn't supposed to be the end all be all, but I tend to pride myself as a DPS that doesn't stand in the fire and knows the encounters inside and out. Secondly, would there be an inherent advantage by using the level 90 boost for he says WAD. I'm going to say Warlords here for you, Coltrane. That's for you.
Thank you.
For a different type of class. As I mentioned before, I played a healer in vanilla and have thought it would probably do better as a healer than as a DPS. I'd like to get your opinions on the subject if possible. Thanks for providing the show, as listening to it has gotten me to enjoy raiding again when I'm not busy having to take care of my grandson. All right. I wouldn't have found out about you guys if it weren't for Ro. And big shout out to Ro over at Realm Maintenance. So there we go. He says, take care. So we got a couple of things going on. One is about raid applications. Darius, as a current lead on the raid team, and as just having done this all day or all week, what can you say about raid applications to this guy?
I mean, when it comes to specifically eye level, that's not something that you have. I mean, you do have a direct impact in that you can raid and get gear, but you can't account for luck and things like that. If your eye level is low, but if you link things like DPS logs, if you look at damage taken logs, things like that, and those are all astounding, even for your eye level, that's going to mean a lot more. Gear is something that's easy to fix. Skill is not. And
Right.
that's what you want to play up in an application. If you feel like they are going to talk about your eye level, or if it's an interview and they talk about your eye level, talk about the other strong points. Eye level, that's something that you can fix. So
Sure. And I think that most raid leaders kind of see through that, right?
yeah, if it's a quality raid leader, they're going to understand that, and your eye level is not going to be as important as the other things.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Right. I mean,
So I said quality raid leader.
some guys don't. Some guys don't. But I think.
Well, I think that's why it's smart to add in there, like, please, in my logs, take a look at damage taken. My eye level may be low, but blah, 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 blah. Here's stuff to back up that I do not stand in the fire and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Right. And by the way, this guy, it's not included in this letter, but this guy went over to Storm Rage, and that server has a lot of really top end raiders, top end raid teams on it. It's pretty huge. So if you're applying to a top end raid team, obviously that's going to be much, much different than if you're just trying to get started on a casual-ish team, or maybe trying to get into heroics or something like that. So always take that into account too, because I mean, some of those high-end guilds, they just don't they have different criteria.
Yeah.
So.
In fact, we had, I think it was someone from Blood Legion, I can't remember who, and we asked about how important, maybe it was affinity or something that eye level was, or maybe it was Blatty, but on method. But I mean, I think if you're going to a high-end team, maybe you start at a somewhat lower level, you get gear, then you graduate up. You know what I mean?
Right.
You go up to a higher raid team, because they do. If you're looking for a world-class top end, they are going to look at eye level without a doubt. Right. And you can say that you're blue in the face. No, really, I'm great. But they're like, well, you're not. You don't have any heroic gear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's at that like super high-end level. So at a normal raid team, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much from a quality raid leader.
Yeah, and Colt, what do you think about the using the level 90 boost in Warlords for a different type of class? Now,
Well, I don't understand the question here.
So he plays a mage right now,
Right.
and he's thinking about doing this with a healer class for Warlords, like using that level 90 boost to get another tune up to 90. So that it maybe as like a backup character or something like that, or an alt. Now, would you suggest using a different type of class, like a hybrid, like a healer, or would you say that you should stick with the same type of like a range DPS, or what would you suggest for that, or do you have a suggestion? I guess
I think you need to play a class that you're going to enjoy and love. I think that trying to force yourself, like, I may be more wanted by a raid team if I play a healer or a hybrid class, I think is a mistake. It may be true, but if you hate the class, if you don't dig it, if you don't love it, then you're not going to be having a good time. You know what I mean? So I suggest, as far as these 90s go to the PTR. You can create a level 90 right now today on the PTR of a particular class, test it out, play it, see how it feels, see how you like it at max level. And if you like that class and you dig it, then you can boost on up. But I mean, I don't know, man. I understand if the question is, if I boost a different type of class, will that make me more desirable, or should I do that? I just say, play what you want, play what you enjoy. If it's something, it's a class that you're passionate about, you're going to put the most work into, and you're going to be the best you can be at that class.
Darius, how about you, man?
I say if you're looking to better round yourself out as a player, though, and you want to understand, especially as a healer, kind of what's going on, make a tank. You already played as DPS, you played as a healer, make a tank. That's going to make you the most well-rounded player. And don't make a druid tank. You already know druids. Make something different. That's going to help you in a raid application. That's going to help you significantly. If you say, I've got this class, and this class, all different roles. You're going to look pretty enticing on a raid application.
Well,
so if that's what you're looking for there, but if you're looking for fun, and you really dig playing a mage, then I can't help you there.
Right.
Boy, you got to apologize. A lot of mage hate this episode. Holy cow.
Well, but
making up for a couple weeks.
The way that I look at it is I kind of look at it the same way as if you look at the heroic teams out there, if you look at the cutting edge, bleeding edge guys like Blood Legion and Method and all those kind of things, you see that these guys play a similar role. So they have alts of a similar role. And if you're playing mage and you love playing mage, if you love range DPS, then maybe grab something that has a ranged DPS options. It may also be, it could be a shaman or it could be a druid. And because it has the ranged DPS, you can still feel comfortable, and yet you can also be flexible a little bit more. So you can say, well, I can range DPS, or I can heal, or I can tank. If you pick a druid again, then you can do kind of anything you want to, right? So always make sure that you kind of position yourself in what you like to do as well. Don't just think about, switching up roles, because if you really don't like tanking, then it's not going to make a whit of difference. So there. I mean, if you love range DPS, pick a class that has range DPS and maybe another option. That's what I'm saying. So there. But I think
also maybe learn other specs. Preach was saying, he goes, I play warrior, which means I play arms to the best of my ability. I play fury and I play protection.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the same goes, I play warlock, meaning I play demonology, affliction, and destruction. Another thing to do is just to learn all three specs and be able to play them at a high-end level.
Yep.
It's another way that's good.
But I know, Blatty, he does warlock mage and like a lot of range stuff. And Affinity, he plays a lot of different healers.
That's
and Trekkie plays all the different tanks. So, you've got all those guys playing all those different things, and I think they've just found a role that they really like, and so they try to stick within that role and just become a more rounded player in that regard. So, so there's a few different ways to go. Speaking of ways to go, we're going to get going, but first, we need to do some 5-star reviews, and Darius, help us out here.
So we were looking a little light on the US iTunes, so I grabbed some from Canada and the UK. So we've got Mikey D 8113. We've got Erg for War Chief. We've got Yashin Aro. We've got Rise Forest, Dead Izzy, and Hutch 595.
There we go. And also on Stitcher, we have some. Colt, can you help us out with these?
Sure. We got Wiz Art, Health Bane, Chemist First, and Hinano. And thank you so much for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for, do we have any shout outs this week at all?
I do. I want to give a shout out to the group that helped me get the PvP achievement done. The 10 people that came in and the 5 that lost, even though they ganged up on me quite a bit. I want to thank them for at least throwing one for the team and being good sports about it. So, thanks, guys.
That's funny. That's funny. But we cannot do this without you guys. Thanks so much for all the reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, and all the comments and everything on the YouTube and on GameBreaker.tv, on our side, all the different ways that you guys are participating. Thank you guys so much. We cannot do that without you. But for now, I'm going to bail on the music.
Just gonna bail out. Just bail out of that.
Yep. Just gonna bail right out, and I'm gonna play this one. It's been a while.
Smooth, baby.
It's been a while. Please feel free to join in on every single conversation we're having at any time. You can always email us at converttораid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter, at ConvertToRaid, or individually, isn't that right, Coltrane.
You can follow Pat Crane at Pat Crane. You can follow Coltrane at _Coltrane. And you can follow Darius at Board Mind.
That's right. And please feel free to join the Bazooba Guabo Nation by heading over to converttораid.com, where we have videos, we have audio downloads, we have tons of links for raiders, and so much more. An entire, it's a plethora of things over at converttораid.com. And our live feed and our video can also be found over at GameBreaker.tv. The audio show is also available on Stitcher, like I said, the BlackBerry Podcast Directory, and iTunes, all sorts of different places like that. And that is going to be it for the show. Hope you guys had a good time. Learn a little bit about what's coming up for Warlords of Dreanor. And thanks for so much for tuning in. We'll see you on our next show next week. Now, next week is daylight savings, I think.
Oh, it is?
So we're going to be jumping up an hour. Let's talk after the show as far as what we want to do here.
That's good. That means druids get haste that much quicker.
That's right. But we will see you next week. I think well, we'll talk about times, but so follow us on Twitter and stuff like that. We'll tell you what's going on. For all the guys that convert to raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.